let's talk about how flippers have liabilities and what we're going to protect against and how. First of all, flippers buy a house, they rehab it and turn around and sell it. And if they fail to disclose what are known defects, I meant to say, then you're basically violating the contract on which you sold it. It can be considered fraudulent, and you can end up being sued for the damages. All right. So non-disclosure is a big problem. You got to disclose if you know there is mold on the property, asbestos, lead paint, termite damage, water damage, foundation problems, structural problems, other known defects. You got to disclose it, even though it would hurt the purchase price. That's the law. All right. Also, if a flipper is using unlicensed contractors who don't pull permits, meaning the work isn't going to be reviewed by an inspector, that can end up creating really, really serious, life-threatening problems. If the wiring is not done correctly, plumbing, etc., you just don't use the unlicensed contractors. Yeah. Premises liability, you're going to have guys who are rehabbing the property for you. If they're injured doing that job, you can end up being liable. Now, of course, they all say they're bonded.
Yeah.
Make sure they're bonded, because whether they're bonded or not, they'll tell you that they are. All right. Mm-hmm. You've got to make sure that they are. The solution is use a flipping entity to buy the property, own the property while it's being rehabbed, and then sell the property through the entity, not in your personal name. Once again, you'd be a sole proprietor and taking a huge legal risk. That would all be your liability. Otherwise, it's the LLC's liability. Okay, so let's talk quickly about protecting against liabilities of landlords. Now, these are buy and hold people. They've got rental properties. And here's what the internet has to say. Can I sue my landlord? Yes, you can. 8 times you can sue a landlord and win. 10 times to take legal action against your landlord, and suing your landlord for mold-related health problems, and on and on. That's just a sample. So the first type of liability we have is, once again, premises liability for a landlord. You've got people on your property. There are slips and falls, negligence. There could be, if you're in a college town renting to college students, heaven forbid, you've got college kids doing parties, getting crazy on your property. So many stories I could tell you. There was a group of medical students who were partying, right after boards, and they were in a second story, and they were out on the balcony, and one of them leaned against the balcony. The balcony snapped, fell several stories, ended up being a paraplegic. Medical career over. Sued the property owner for millions and millions of dollars. And so there is really serious premises liability. And I guarantee that was way above the coverage limit on the insurance policy. Landlords can be liable if the unit is uninhabitable. The people say, there's mold in here, I'm getting sick, from whatever's in this property. And the landlord, if they say, look, suck it up. Sorry, I don't smell anything. Well, you got to take care of the health and safety of your tenants. There could be disputes over security deposits and reimbursements for repairs that the tenants make. And that is, once again, a big source of liability for landlords. And then clearly illegal acts. You cannot discriminate in any way as a landlord. You cannot prohibit service animals, for instance, even if you have a no pets policy. That's a federal law. You cannot enter a tenant's unit without reasonable notice. Illegal, retaliation against the tenant, cannot do it. This is illegal under both state and federal law. So you've got to, once again, have a great coach just like you and Mike, Paul, to guide you as to what the law is, and that is what we help people with as well. And for landlords, once again, typical exclusions are going to be their insurance policies are not going to cover mold and asbestos and pollution and contract disputes and employee actions, government lawsuits, and many types of negligence. Just not going to cover it. It's excluded. So what are the solutions for a landlord to protect against liability? Once again, use protective entities, possibly one or more, depending upon how many rental properties you own, in order to limit your liability. And the way we do that is with what is called a limited liability company or an LLC. And the reason that an LLC is so much more protective than just a corporation is because an LLC comes with what is called a charging order. A charging order is what the winner of a lawsuit gets when they sue and win. And the charging order gives the winner of a lawsuit 3 migraine headaches. This is not what a winner of a lawsuit wants. The first thing they get is the right to seize a certain percentage of your assets from your LLC. And the exact percentage they get to seize every time is 0. If, I shouldn't have said every time, but only if it is set up properly. All right? Second thing they get is the right to take the net income of the LLC that you distribute. Now, think of this. If somebody had valuable properties in an LLC and they get sued, well, the winner of the lawsuit cannot get any of the properties in the LLC. They're off limits, 0. But what the winner of the lawsuit can take is the income or the cash flow that you receive from those properties. Think of that. And they would get to receive that cash flow until their judgment is paid off. That is bad law, because that's why we buy these properties. We want the cash flow.
Right.
So I'm going to read to you, or recite at least, the language that we have developed over many, many years that protects your income. Listen to this, and then you tell me how much of your income you think you're going to have to give to someone who wins a lawsuit against you. It says the manager of the LLC shall distribute the net income of the LLC to each member every year, except the manager does not have to distribute income if the manager decides not to distribute any income. And if you don't distribute any income, the winner of the lawsuit now gets 0 income. Yeah. Now, you may be wondering, well, how am I going to get my income if I don't distribute it? There are many other ways we're going to get that income to you, but we just won't call it a distribution. Might be a salary, could be a service fee, could be lots of other things. All right? But not a distribution. Now, just look at this for a minute, Paul and Michael. If they can't get anything from you, what is their incentive to sue?
None.
Yep, pretty minimal. And that's really the first goal, is to keep you out of a lawsuit so your students can continue to do what they do, make money wholesaling and making good money. But the third thing that they get for winning a lawsuit against you is maybe the best of all, because under the IRS code, it says that the winner of the lawsuit, even though they did not get any income from you, will get a tax bill on the income that you never gave them. Think about that. They were entitled to get, let's say, $200,000 from you. You never gave it to them because you never distributed it, and yet they get a tax bill on the $200,000. That is why this can be so powerful. So they get no assets, they get none of your income, but instead of getting assets or income, they get a tax bill on the income you never gave them. That is a powerful charging order